Hello, hello, everyone. This is Liz.
This is Andresa.
Excited to be with all of you on this very, very important and special day, right, Andresa? What are we celebrating here as we jump into our Facebook Live to our Facebook community and our investor community?
Today is Equality Day, Women's Equality Day. And needless to say, why we are here really celebrating this day, because we have come a long way. There's a lot of stuff that we still need to work on.
Mhm.
But as Liz and I stand for everything else, we got to celebrate all the milestones that we have reached so far, and really thankful for all the pioneers and trailblazers who came before us that really, oh, I can't even imagine what they have gone through. And sometimes we, just take for granted the rights that we have nowadays, 2021, that not a long time ago they didn't exist, right? We
Mhm.
didn't. It was on the 70s. We still had a ton of things that we were quote unquote not allowed to be part of. So it
Yeah,
hasn't been that long.
a long time. Yeah, and we wanted to. I'm going to share some of those things because I was pretty shocked. I thought I knew many of these, and when we were doing a little research and fact finding, we didn't realize. So we're going to share some of those things. But we really wanted to connect with all of you. So if you're here and joining us through our Facebook, please say hello. And
Hmm.
we want to also relate this to our mission. So for those who don't know what we're about, obviously our mission is to empower women to live a financially free and balanced life. And there's so many women the last couple of months have joined our community. So welcome to our community. Welcome to our being on this journey with us. We're so appreciative. We see so many new faces and new names in our Facebook community, and those who are listening to our podcast and all that good stuff. So thank you. And why we're doing this today, because it's just a momentous day, as Andresa just shared so wonderfully. And we also wanted to kind of stop and celebrate and also relate this to our mission because it is connected, and it's very connected. And I'm just going to speak personally about that because we had some really good realizations. So as you're joining us, please say hello. I'm going to just share a couple of things that I saw. So number one, women couldn't receive a equal education, which completely think about the connection to finances, right? Financial freedom. It's fascinating that that was the case. You couldn't adopt a baby as a single woman. Like, wow, that's like didn't know that. It wasn't real. I didn't realize that. She couldn't become the CEO of a Fortune 500 company.
Seems like
Cat,
it's just crazy to
yeah,
think
Catherine.
about that, right?
Right. I mean, Catherine Graham became the first female CEO in American history of a Fortune 500 company when she took over the Washington Post in 1972. While this is the key. Um, it wasn't illegal, right? But there was a social acceptance, right, that had to get broken through. So that's
It
just
wasn't that the
fascinating.
lady from the Washington Post.
Yes. Hmm.
So here's the thing. If I am not mistaken, in her case, it was just because somebody died and she had to take it over. She was not like pointed or,
Right.
it was, not taking, of course, what she did. And
Of
it's
course.
just really, really amazing. But to see a woman nowadays, the CEO of Bumble, for example, going public
Hmm.
and on holding her child on her on her body and doing that. We have seen so many women. Sheryl Sandberg is just leadership from head to toe that is really, like, really remarkable. So all those women.
It's amazing, and we want to have all those women on our podcast. But
Yes.
but here's the thing, here's the deal, as Andresa famously has coined that phrase. It's interesting, right, Andresa? You think about equality, and we think about it's out there, right? Like we have the right to vote. There's so many things that we take for granted now that so many women couldn't do, right? Open a
Hmm.
bank account. I mean, make the long list.
Hmm.
Um, that wasn't that long ago. So, okay, let's check that off. Let's celebrate, and then we close it out. But that's not what Andres and I wanted to do today because we're all about creating more financial freedom in our own lives and all the
Yeah.
women's lives that we're looking to touch globally. And there's parts of like this topic of equality that are still getting missed, right, in our own lives. And it's very subtle, and
Very.
it's not like this, you know, women can't come here type of thing.
Explicit.
But it's very subtle, and I think about that for my own life, and I'm just going to speak personally, because that's what we're all about. Is like, how do we take the content that we're learning, whether it's a how-to from business, real estate investing, or self-care, and balance, and make it real for ourselves, because we're all kind of like, looking to create our own best life.
Mhm.
So for me, I see a lot. What I hear of a lot of women in our community, I don't know if you have the same experience, but um, it's really about almost demanding what you're due, whether that's
Mhm.
with a contractor, whether that's with a lender, whether that's negotiating terms of a real estate deal. I mean, you think about how much we just take what we're given. And I
Mhm.
think so many women, and I'm part of that. I don't say I'm not part of that, because there's times that I'm like, I could have asked for what I wanted a little bit better. I didn't, because I just kind of took what I got. I took whatever they wanted to give me. You could say that, is that a woman thing? Is that a men? I don't. I just know. I'm just speaking from a personal perspective. Is that I see a lot of women in particular
Mhm.
take from the situation and go, oh, okay, this is the terms I'm being given. Meanwhile, someone else negotiated terms. So I think women are amazing, can be amazing negotiators. And I know for my own life, I want to do a better job at that, really
Mhm.
asking for and it comes from asking for what we want and knowing what you want, whether it's terms, whether it's that seller financing opportunity, whether it's just, hey, I think this is a better opportunity versus, oh, they want to give me this. I'll just take it. So
Because we
that for
have that
me,
feeling inside. You kind of like something is kind of a little off, but sometimes we don't know what
yeah. And I
that
think it's
means.
conditioning. Maybe it's personality, it's conditioning, it's society. It's who cares what it is, but it's the reality of keeping the peace, right? Keeping, being grateful for what you get. And all that's really important. I don't mean to not be peaceful or
Mhm.
combative in your relationships, but I think it's subtle. And I think equality in today's world comes out in that way, where a lot of women just take what they're given, and we don't demand more. We don't demand. Think about pay raises. Statistically, that's shown in corporate America that men ask for pay raises more than women and get them more. And I think that has to stop, right? And I think what we relate it to investing is we have to, ask for what we want and even
Yeah.
know that's possible. So I don't know what you think of that, but that's where I think this topic of equality comes up every day in our investing world.
Yeah, and the word equality, right? It's sometimes a subject that you can go different ways. Many people say this is BS, because I do you want to be equal to men and then you're gonna do your own stuff. We're not talking about that. We're talking about basic rights, rights to choose, rights to be able to. I'll give an very clear example, right? And sometimes it's not even like about me or about Liz. When we see conferences where the speakers have the same gender, the same color, the same age range, the same background, is the same perspective, right? And we 2 years ago we went to a conference, 2 or 3 years, where the pandemic's kind of like
Vague.
big, and we're listening to this person on stage. Don't take his credit, okay? But it was like nothing new, nothing excited, not a different perspective that I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And then I looked to my side, this amazing investor, and I was like, you should be there. And sometimes we don't value everything that we have on our bags, and we look and say, do I qualify? Do I
Mm.
qualify to be on a podcast? Do I qualify to be speaking? And I am telling you guys, yes, you do qualify, and I'll be tagging you, because we are calling people out now in
Mm-hmm.
different conferences in the
Mm.
sense of, listen, here here's the deal. We have a ton of competent, experienced women in real estate that can bring a different flavor, a different perspective to your conference. And it's impossible for all those conferences to continue being this like close off way of being. The folks that are organizing those conferences, they are either mindful or they will get an email from us saying, hey, by the way, what's going on over here? Would Do you need support offering other speakers? We have plenty to recommend to you. And we are having those tough
Mm,
conversations behind the scenes with podcasts, with other things. It's not comfortable. And we're not like, yeah, pick me or pick Liz. We're like, pick her.
yeah.
We have so many different things, but it's just a way of being right now that even though it's not comfortable, we feel that it's needed.
Agreed. I love that. And I got a couple of the preach on that lack of diversity problem. Please, I know it's just like Facebook user. We're shifting some things up, so we'll see everyone's name. But
Yes.
so true. Got some claps. Please say hello to. We always like to see who's joining us. That's why
Yes.
we're doing this live. We didn't pre-record this. This is literally 1:00 Eastern time. When it comes to your your own life or your own, path, right?
Mm-hmm.
Journey, if you will, in terms of financial freedom, where do you see like the need for, not, I don't want to say demanding in a bad way, but it's almost like we do need to be asking for, demanding for these things more. Because it's on the platter in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people would say. Well, if you want this, go get it. But it's twofold,
Yep.
right? Giving opportunities. And it's also, that's why you and I are so committed. And we were 3 years ago to say, we need a podcast where we literally interview just women. We
Give a voice.
I get inquiries all the time of like a bunch of guys who want to be on our podcast. I'm like, it's called the Real Estate
Funny
Investor
part
Show.
of the folks who book other podcast folks, they're like, I'm following up. Is he a not good fit? I was like, you
Oh my God.
never
Yeah.
listen to our podcast.
Yeah.
Otherwise you would know. Why?
I know. I want to put them in a headlock, but that's another story. So for you in your own journey of financial freedom and relating this like big topic of like, equality and just basic rights, to your point, where do you see this kind of playing out, the women you're talking to, your own life? Like how can we relate this to our own life and make it real and make it very, and take away something from this momentous day and not just be like, yeah, I can vote still. And that's awesome. And, thumbs up to all the women that came before me. No, like, how do we take it to another level? How do we take it to another level for my daughter and all the daughters of the women in our community?
I think it starts with first having awareness that this is happening, that you start seeing it across the board. And the second thing I would say is really standing and speaking up about it. Of course, in a kind way, but it's really like quote unquote demanding it. Listen, you just can't play this way anymore. Not nowadays. And it's just, I feel that the woman is just like, okay, you're not gonna allow me to play in your stage. I'm gonna create a stage or I'm gonna go in other stages until you look and you're like, oh, let me invite you. And then they don't have the time to deal with you, right? So it's just a way that we can bring awareness. There's no other way that we can have those conversations without communicating. Right?
I think what's really powerful with what you're saying, Andresa, and what you did a couple of years ago. So a couple of years ago, Andresa was speaking in front of a real estate investing. I wasn't there, but I'm just going to give the highlights of what I do understand. So, and I think this is really important for the women in our community to hear. And I think it's really important for us to do more of, to your point. And this is where it shows up in our world of investing. Okay. Mm-hmm. So she was speaking in front of probably about 100 people, men, women.
150, 200 people.
150 is a RIA group, So it was a host of, you were talking about construction, you were talking about, and you were at the end of the point of the presentation, and you asked for questions. And a gentleman got up and didn't have a question, and I don't know how many times he did this. I think he did it a few times, right?
Yeah.
But what happened and what did you do? Because that's important. And I want the women in our community to hear this and to say, where can I be doing this more in my own life? In the PTA meeting, or in the XYZ meeting, or in my investing business, or at that title company. I don't know, but it happens. It happens all the time, and we need to speak up more and do what you did.
Absolutely. So a lady stood up and she asked a question, a very, very valid question. And then I shared my opinion. And then the gentleman stood up and I was like, do you have a question? And then he's like, no, I just want to address her question. And he started speaking. And then I was like, hold on, sir. And then I took a deep breath, and you have those like 30-second moment that you're like, should I just crush him here? Or how can I address the situation in a way that's still powerful? And it was being recorded. So like, gosh, that's going to be for a long period of time here. And I say, sir, with all the respect, okay, you're not going to address her at this moment. First of all, she didn't ask your opinion, and you don't know if she wants your opinion on this. So if you want to approach her and ask her that question, if she wants your suggestions, your recommendations, feel free to do so after the meeting. But right now, I'm speaking. Like, I'm speaking right now. And then I took a deep breath and I was like, should I address the crowd? Because then I always try to manage the energy, right? You want to be dynamic and everything. And I felt this
You have like a teaching point. You like a teaching moment there.
This like cloud coming through, and I didn't want to use it. And say, shall we address the elephant in the room? And we have a ton of investors there. They're like, yes, let's do that. I was like, listen, ladies, this situation here would not have happened. I've never seen this happen as often, right? As I see with women, right? When men come after women, it can be on Facebook posts, for example, and compliment the answer as if the answer is not full and complete, or add, oh, you are correct, or try to correct you and your experience and make it their experience more valid or more valuable. I see it across the board, not just in conference, but in social media, coming back and then validating that as if it's not valid, right? So we address it. We address it there. I got into like a little blurb because I don't remember. I went for drinks with the ladies. Like, what did I say? Was it appropriate? It's like, no, it was appropriate. And then the feedback is the most important thing, right? When men come to me after that and say, I appreciate what you did. It's valuable. I have a wife. I have a daughter. They don't feel comfortable coming here because it's just not, they feel like I don't belong here. So thanks for everything that you guys been doing, because then it's relatable. Other women can see it. So that's one of the situations that happen.
I think what's really powerful is what you did, Andresa, and you did it, what I understand is in a kind way. Yeah. But like, I think we need to speak up, and not just for all women, but for yourself, literally, in a situation. And I think it's just, I think it's so subtle, and it's so easy not to say anything.
It is, because it really is uncomfortable, right? You don't want to create a drama, but we gotta say, listen, this is no longer appropriate, or is not sounding, I'm getting uncomfortable here, and that is more than enough to say, listen, let's cut it out here.
Yeah,
it's just, in the man's defense, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're not doing it intentionally. Mm-hmm. They're not doing it to hurt or anything like that. It's just a way of being, and there's no awareness. So I come from that approach when I have conversations with men, and I work with a ton of them. I come from that approach that is like, listen, let's have this conversation here. So you see how, and the allies, if you are in that situation, you want your allies around you, men and women, to back you up. That's the most, I think, validated situation, because then you are not feeling like by yourself. Mm-hmm. So think about the women that you surround yourself with, mm-hmm. in those situations, and the men too, right? Mm-hmm. When shit hits the fan, are your allies backing you up? Because their behavior, you're going to be looking like, what the hell is going on here, right? Am I by myself here? So it's also, important. And Liz, you and I have been through so many things that we bounce out of each other with our personality to make the situation. You can speak about the same things that I'm speaking now in a completely different way that are also super valid. And
Mm-hmm.
we're day in and day out looking for more equality in our lives and simple things. So Liz, now your turn.
Yeah,
When you
no, I mean,
think about,
you're
I have a question for you.
okay.
When you think about equality, right? I am divorced. You, Liz, you're married with Matt. And a lot of the ladies that are listening here have a work with their
Mm-hmm.
spouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a challenge in a nutshell. And we want to put, the marriage on top of anything
Mm-hmm.
else. How do you is there a secret sauce, or is there what is being working for you guys in terms of that piece? Or I just want to get that
Mm.
perspective. I can give that perspective, ladies. But Liz,
When
just
it
want to
comes
give it to.
to even from like a well, equality. Okay, so taking equality on a micro level of like a marriage, right? That's a big topic. I don't know if I'm the expert necessarily, but I'm the expert in what I know and how I've lived life, my own life so far, right? So, I think it takes a lot of communication,
Yeah.
and it takes a lot of like knowing where you shine in a relationship. I think it also, whether it's a straight couple, gay couple, doesn't matter, but they're typically knowing like where you're coming from a femininity and a masculinity perspective. And I'm getting granular, but I think that is important. So like, for example, me working with Matt, um, me being more dominant and saying, "Hey, where are you at with this?" And that didn't work for him in our relationship, right? And you can stem it from like femininity, masculinity. Not saying, and I think femininity is such power. There's such strength in femininity, and women who are in our world, in our community, are like, I don't want to do that. I want to be this way so I can take control and make it happen. As a balance in all of it, especially in a relationship.
Yeah.
So I know I'm kind of getting deep, but I don't know how I'll answer that if I don't. So I think knowing where one another are, what's important to each other, communicating, and then constantly saying like, where do I need to adapt? Like, for example, sometimes in the relationship, for me working with my husband, I just say, yes, do this, go for it, go for it, go for it. And I'm like a cheerleader, and he's a cheerleader to me too. But then like once he does all those things, then in my head, I'm very resentful, in working together, or you're going off and looking at this deal or that deal, and it's supporting our greater good. But now in my head, I'm like, almost like creating a check mark in my head, and it's not good either, right? You want to be able to like, not be resentful. So I think that comes up a lot when you're working together. There's a lot of that. Are you communicating openly? Are you not just, are you asking for support? Or are you demanding support? And I'm not saying demanding like, give me support. Like no one's going to even listen to you, right? I don't mean demand in that sense. I mean demand in a philosophical sense of like, here's what's coming up for me. Here's what's working. Here's what's not working. Here's what I need from you. And that's a constant thing that I've needed to learn, how to do that, right? Because I had an amazing mom who modeled for me in a relationship to be very service oriented, and that's who I am. So by default, if I don't watch, I forget what I even need, and then I don't even know what I need, and then I know I'm annoyed, and then but that's not helpful, right? If that person doesn't, if you don't express that. So that's just relationship 101. But especially when working together, I think it really has a lot to do with balancing the personal and the professional, and where you don't feel like there's equality, it may be different for every relationship. I know for me, I take care of a lot of other things around our house, and I have to remind my husband, which annoys me sometimes, right? But I need to be, we need to communicate more and say, hey, this is what I need you to do more. This is what I need from you. What do you need from me?
Yeah,
And it's
and
different. you know?
And I think it's funny when people say like this equality as if things are 50-50 across the board. It isn't. It
No.
isn't, right? I think that in a relationship, both need to be 100%, 100%, 100%. But in certain projects, they go by project, or I don't know, the divisions of it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sometimes it's 80-20. Sometimes it's whatever that situation, whatever works for your relationship and for your partnership, right? Because you extend this to real estate and you're like,
Right.
yeah, we're partners, we're 50-50. Let me tell you something. Describe what that is on your contract, because I understand the profit if is 50-50, but to get the project from A to Z,
That's a good point.
you how you can measure that. So make sure that you really have this like marriage contract, that it's
Mhm.
it's laid out. And as Liz saying, the communication is really, really the key. And sometimes you're going to take more over here, or you're going to take less in another project. It really varies, and there's not like this formula that fits all,
No.
right?
No, no, absolutely not. I mean, even with children in the mix, right? I think there is a parent that tends to be the first one in line, if you will. I mean, you're both parents, but there tends to be one person, if it's a couple, that tends to take the lead. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that the idea of like ownership and leads in different areas. I know couples that the husband is the lead with the kids. I
Yeah,
see, in our relationship, I'm probably more the lead, and we've said that. It doesn't mean
exactly.
that I'm always with our children. But I think it's important to establish different things. If we want to start, lending more money out and being
Yeah,
lenders, I've taken the lead on that. That doesn't mean Matt's not involved, right? But I'm the person who's going to run with that.
lead it.
So I think that's our apartment syndications. I am involved. I'm not leading it though. We're very clear with that. Not because I can't or I don't know enough. That's not why.
Same thing with
But
the investor.
same thing with Investor. I just professionally and time wise, I'm putting my energy in different things. I've chosen to do that, right? So I think it's the constant like what's working, what's not, and not just delineating roles basis of anything more than what people want and what people are good at, and
Yeah.
also what the family needs, what the business needs, and what you need, and all of those things are important. Um, so I think we do serve everyone. A lot of women serve everyone else and put ourselves last. And I think that has to end because we're not serving anyone by doing that. So
It's just creating I keep thinking like, what am I modeling to my son? I don't have a
yeah,
daughter as of now.
yeah,
But what am I modeling to my son, right? If he decides to date a woman in the future, what is the
yeah.
bar? What
Hmm.
how do I want him to treat his other first grade classmate? What's going on there? I think that that's like a very, very deep mission in terms of like, what can I show him? We're very grateful for all the rights, the equal rights that we
Hmm.
have now. And I choose to use them. I choose to execute and to use my vote. I choose to take advantage of all the rights, and really fight for other women that have not had that opportunity right now. Liz and I are thinking globally, and other women, unfortunately, around the world don't have the right for same education. So we have work to do. We have work to do in our investor community. We have a couple of things that we're aiming in the future to really support women worldwide, and give them the opportunity. We have the charity event, right, Liz, for the
Yeah,
Women for
that
Women
was awesome.
International, that it's focused on the education on those countries there, the information about finance, because that's where it starts, right?
And it starts that way with our kids. So like what's the modeling for our children? And there's a guest we had on who does children's books based on like entrepreneurs. I got her a set of books, Andressa,
You did
because
great.
because one day my daughter said to me, I said, "What do you want to be when you're older?" She's 4. She's like, "I want to be a princess." I'm like, she loves princesses. And I, hey, if she wants to be a princess, that's awesome. But
Go for it.
I got to order those books. So I've been reading them to her, like Sierra, the real estate investor. And they basically have like basic books about a real estate investor, a woman who like owns a salon, a woman who owns a franchise. And, so I've been reading those every night to her. So when I ask her in like 6 months, hopefully she'll be like, I want to own a franchise, but here's the thing. It's like, it's the subtle things, right? It's the subtle messaging and it's just interesting. It's a mindfulness for our children, but it's a mindfulness for ourselves when we're dealing with all these different vendors and these contractors. I mean, ask for what you believe you deserve and then some, because if you don't do it, they're not going to give it out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you want a lower percentage? It's just not going to happen. So we do have to demand it. And I think that's my big takeaway.
Practice. That's what it is. You create a muscle. And that's what it is. And we are here to support all of you, right? We want to hear about your journey. This is a safe place for you to really share what's going on and get the support you need. Quit this mentality that you need to figure out everything on your own. I know you're capable. We all know, right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about how can you really get there by using somebody else's shortcut so you can really live the life on your own terms. That
is our mission, and all of our content from our free membership to our paid membership to all of our events that we're planning have our podcast interviews, everything we're doing, we have 3 pillars of like investing is obviously the vehicle that many of us have chosen, right? For creating financial freedom, financial security. But then it's like business of like, how do you create something bigger than yourself? So you're not the one doing it all. You're the one implementing something. And this whole idea of self-care, right? Of how do we do it in a way that we are true to ourselves? We're true to our families. We're not wringing ourselves ragged, which is easy for a lot of ambitious women, quite honestly. Andresa and I know we are the women in our community. We're not saying that because we've never been there. It's just we're looking at always growing and getting better, and we're doing that with all of you. So that's what our community is all about. If you know any women in your life that would benefit from what we're doing, tell them to join these free things. We love to support more women and empower them and all that good stuff. So we appreciate you being part of this. I know this was a different theme, but I think this is important, right? Because it's all connected to financial freedom. So with that, we'll see you around the community. And anything else, Andresa?
No, that's all. Let's celebrate today and feel free to share where you're aiming for more equality in your life and let us know how can we support you.
Yeah, put that in the comment section even after this video goes live. That'd be great. So thanks for being with us today. Appreciate you.
Bye.